You're watching RT. Let's now return to one of our top stories. And Tuesday marks 10th anniversary of the NATO bombings of Serbia during the Kosovo War, which killed hundreds and forced thousands to flee. The debris of the conflict still litters the ground, including spent, depleted uranium shells. This has raised concerns about the long-term environmental impact of the fighting. For more on the topic, I'm now joined by Dr. Jasmina Vujic from the Department of Nuclear Engineering at Berkeley University of California. Dr. Vujic, thank you very much for being with us here in the program. Now, first of all, tell us, how toxic is depleted uranium?
Thank you very much for having me. It's very important to make people aware about the possible environmental and health consequences of depleted uranium. Depleted uranium is chemically toxic and mildly radioactive. So as external radioactive source, it is not that dangerous. However, in the case when it is spread all over, the land and in water, it can contaminate people and plants. Then it is, from my point of view, dangerous. For example, during the NATO bombing in 1999 in Kosovo, about 30,000 rounds of depleted ammunition was used, and several thousand in southern Serbia. Each of these penetrators has about 300 grams of depleted uranium. Having in mind the amount, it's probably about 10,000 kilograms in Kosovo and maybe up to 2,000 kilograms in southern Serbia, and from 94-95 in Bosnia as well. UN teams went several times over the last 10 years to visit, and what is surprising for them, that after 1, 2, and 7 years from the bombardment, they found depleted uranium on the ground, in the air, and in drinking water, meaning that people, animals, and plants are exposed to effects of depleted uranium.
Dr. Vujic, also, now that you've mentioned that after 7 years there was still some, residue remnants of depleted uranium there have been claims that the cancer rate in Serbia has increased dramatically as a result. So, do you think, is there any solid link between the use of depleted uranium and cancer?
We do have data that over the last 10 years, different cancer rates dramatically increased in Serbia. And having in mind that in addition to depleted uranium, there were all kinds of petrochemical and chemical and mercury pollutants that were released during the bombings, particularly so-called POPs, or very dangerous chemicals that are forbidden by Stockholm Convention. So all these effects might have contributed, but also particularly in southern Serbia, we don't have data for Kosovo because there is no access there, showed that contamination by depleted uranium could cause consequences. I might mention that in the scientific papers that I read from Italian authors and scientists, that there is significant increase in Hodgkin's lymphoma on the soldiers, Italian soldiers that served in Kosovo during the and aftermath of bombing. So there could be connection, although medical community still is discussing about it.
Well, you also mentioned some of the environmental consequences of this conflict, but in your opinion, in the opinion of a scientist, how long will it take to get over those environmental problems?
Basically, what is going on with penetrators, those that exploded and burst, created a lot of dust that was inhaled by the people that were very close to explosions. The dust is still found in some of the buildings and in the air. Also, the penetrators that were not exploding, that were in the ground or on the surface, what UN teams found is that they corroded heavily, meaning that they're spreading the contamination around. What is extremely important is to proceed with decontamination and finding of the penetrators. Over the last 10 years, Vinci Institute in Belgrade and their teams were able to find and decontaminate areas for about maybe 200 penetrators, but there were 30,000 of those, so 90% of more are still in the ground, and they need to be found. The soil needs to be decontaminated, drinking water needs to be tested, and there is no money for that. So United Nations team, one of their recommendation was that the international community must find funding to continue the contamination, to continue tests, and to basically follow up, having in mind that a half-life of uranium-238 is 4.5 billion years, so that depleted uranium is there to stay.
This indeed is very alarming, Dr. Vujic. Well, in light of what you just said, let's just briefly talk about this. Now, there are rules of conduct in warfare, such as, for example, the Geneva Convention. Now, do you think there should be a treaty on fighting environmentally responsible wars?
It is exactly why we are raising this awareness, because the countries in conflict use all kind of warfare without actually thinking about long-term environmental consequences of the population of those countries. And during the bombing of Serbia and Montenegro, 150,000 of oil and 400,000 of kerosene burned, many tons of mercury went underground and released all kind of carcinogenous chemicals. So there must be, in addition to Geneva Convention on warfare, it must be Convention on long-term consequences of war on the environment. In particular, there is no reason to bomb petrochemical, chemical, and energy type of facilities, because they will cause disastrous consequences long-term. In addition, I personally would like to have depleted uranium banned from the ammunition. There are different ways to use different type of heavy metals, but not depleted uranium.
All right, Dr. Vujic, thanks very much indeed for sharing your views with us. That was Jasmina Vujic from Berkeley University of California.